Hello friends, today we are going to discuss about the communication. What is communication? Actually, communication is the word which has been taken from the Latin word that is communis, and which denotes for the sharing of ideas, thoughts, opinion or knowledge from one individual to other ones. Communication is the basis of human interaction, and human interaction is the basis of human relationship, and because of the human relationship only we could be able to make the society. So communication is very important part for our life. What is the communication and how it occurs? So communication is a kind of process. It's a process in which there are some steps that communication flows from one person to the other persons. If we go to the step by step, what are the elements of the communication, then we find that first of all, for communication, we need a person that is called the sender of message. Obviously, what happens that we need a person, and the person should have some ideas, some thoughts, some opinion or some knowledge in his mind which he or she wants to share to the other ones. So obviously, first step, the person, and he must have some knowledge or some message. So we know very well that message or information, it is not a thing which can be given to the other persons directly. So what happens, what the sender does, that those informations, that knowledge or that message, he needs to encode. That is called the encoding. What is the encoding? Encoding, generally it's a kind of symbols or it's a kind of some sounds. Because what happens that if suppose I have some ideas or knowledge, if I want to share to the other persons, I can use the language. What is the language? Language is nothing but it's a kind of symbols if it is in the written form to the letters, and sounds if it is in spoken form. So that encoded message, it is converted by the sender, and when he is able to encode that particular message, then he selects the channel, how that encoded sound or symbol will be transferred to the other one. For example, there are so many channels, so many media through which the communication is transferred to the other one. So for example, now I am talking to you, it's a face-to-face communication. I am producing the sounds, those sounds I am directly conveying to you. I can also use the media like mobile phone, telephone, newspapers, television, radio, WhatsApp media, so many media are there. So selection of channel, it's a very important thing, because channel plays a very important role for conveying the message effectively to the receiver. And when the channel is selected, then comes the receiver. Receiver is the person whom the message or knowledge or information is transferred, is conveyed. So receiver receives not the message, not the information, not the knowledge. Receiver receives the encoded sounds or encoded symbols. If it is in written form, there are some symbols, some letters are there, and if it is in the form of spoken, they are just sounds. And after receiving those sounds or symbols, what receivers do? He do the decoding of symbols or sounds. Decoding is nothing but it's a conversion of sounds or symbol in the form of meaning. For example, if I say pen, pen is a sound. When I produce it, it reaches to your eardrums. From your eardrums, it reaches to your brain, and your brain gives the meaning to this particular sound. The same thing is in the written form, in the form of symbols. So until the decoding process is not done, the communication is not possible at all. It is just a kind of sound or just a kind of some symbols. And after decoding, we need to give feedback. For example, if any person comes and he is a very good speaker, very knowledgeable person, and he starts speaking in French language, and the audience are not having the knowledge or understanding about the French language. The sender is a very good person. He has some ideas, some knowledge, some information in the form of message. He is also very good person to encode the message in the form of French language. Language is nothing but it's the kind of symbols or sounds. And he also chooses the channel. He is directly talking to you, and you are receiving all the sounds how he is speaking. But because you are not able to decode that sound, you are not able to give meaning to that sound, so the communication is not possible. You cannot receive the message, you cannot get the information what the sender wants to convey. So the decoding only provides the message to the receiver, to the person who is getting the informations from the receiver, from the sender, sorry. And after that it comes the feedback, because what happens, communication is a cyclic process, and each time the sender of the message wants the assurance from the receiver that yes, what is the message sent by him to the receiver, he or she is getting or not. Because the continuation of process is not possible if the confirmation of the receiving of the message by the receiver is not done. If I am talking to you, each time I am getting the feedback, a response through your eye contact, through your head nods. If I am talking on telephone, through mobile phones, if I am speaking any sentence, after completion of each sentence, I want the assurance from the receiver that yes, whatever I am sharing, it is reaching to him or her. If I am not getting the response, if I am not getting the feedback, what will happen? I will stop my communication. So communication continuation is possible only when the sender of the message is getting the assurance, is getting the feedback from the receivers. Then he will again continue the communication, sharing of knowledge or thoughts or ideas. So it's a process of cyclic process through which the communication is done. Thank you.